I'm 93 years old, and for 32 years, my husband was in love with another woman. Yeah, you heard that right. 32 whole years. And here's the kicker. I knew about it. I knew almost from the jump. And I stayed. So before y'all start running your mouths about what you would have done, sit down and let me tell you what it's really like living with something like that eating you alive. Because knowing and actually walking out that door are two completely different ball games. And most folks don't figure that out until life smacks them upside the head. From the outside looking in, we had it together. I mean, picture perfect kind of stuff. Little house on a nice street, 2 kids, boy and a girl. Sunday dinners with all the fixings. Birthday parties where I'm in the kitchen frosting cakes from scratch, while the neighborhood kids are tearing up the backyard. The whole 9 yards. The kind of setup people look at and go, now that's a solid marriage right there. And shoot, in a lot of ways, maybe it was. Bills got paid. Kids turned out all right. We showed face at church every Sunday. Smiled real pretty in every photo. That's what folks saw. And people eat that stuff up because it's way easier than digging into the mess underneath. I get it. I was doing the same dang thing for years. I didn't find out from some big dramatic blow-up neither. Wasn't no lipstick on his collar, no love letters falling out of his jacket like in the movies. Nah, it was way more subtle than that. The kind of thing that hits you right in the gut before your brain even has time to process what just happened. It was a name. Margaret. He dropped it at dinner one night, real casual, like he was talking about somebody from work or down the street. But his voice did this thing. It got soft, warm, like honey dripping off a spoon. And I hadn't heard him talk like that about me in God knows how long. I clocked it immediately. The way a wife clocks everything she's praying she's wrong about. I stuffed it down, told myself I was tripping. But that name kept popping up. Margaret said this. Margaret thinks that. And every single time, his voice did that same little shift, like just saying her name out loud was giving him butterflies. I started watching his face real close whenever she came up in conversation. And that's when it hit me, like a ton of bricks. You don't need receipts when you've been sleeping next to somebody for years. You feel that mess in your bones, way before anybody opens their mouth and confirms it. One night, after the kids were knocked out, I sat across from him at the kitchen table. House was dead quiet. I could hear the clock on the wall doing its thing. That stupid faucet he kept saying he'd fix was drip, drip, dripping away. The overhead light was that ugly yellowish kind that makes everybody look like they haven't slept in a week. I looked him dead in the eyes, and I just came out with it. I said his name, and I said, "Are you in love with Margaret?" Man. The silence that came after that question is something I will take to my grave. It wasn't just a pause. It was the kind of silence that fills up the whole room and sits on your chest like a cinder block. I could smell the leftover coffee in his mug. I could hear that faucet still dripping, like it didn't care my whole world was falling apart. I was gripping the edge of that table so hard, my knuckles were white, because I needed to hold on to something real. He looked at me, and his face went through about 4 emotions in like 2 seconds flat. Surprise, panic, shame, and then something worse than all of that put together. Relief. Straight up relief, like he'd been carrying this thing around for so long, and somebody finally called him out. He didn't deny nothing, just sat there. And let me tell you, that silence was louder than anything he could have ever said. Everybody and their mama asked the same question. Every single person I've ever told this to, first thing out of their mouth, same exact words. Girl, why didn't you leave? They say it like it's the easiest thing in the world. Like leaving is just packing a bag and bouncing. And then boom, fresh start, new life, everything's peachy. Let me break it down for you. In 1961, a woman with 2 little kids and no job and no bank account of her own didn't just up and leave. Where was I gonna go? crawl back to my folks' place with my tail between my legs, and announce that my marriage was a bust. Yank my babies out of their school, away from their daddy, their friends, everything they knew. Start from scratch with absolutely nothing in a world that treated divorced women like they had the plague. And I'm gonna keep it real with you. It wasn't just the money and the logistics. It was fear. Cold, gut-wrenching fear. Fear of being on my own. Fear of the gossip. Fear that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't good enough. And if I bounced, I'd have to sit with that feeling every single day for the rest of my life, with nobody around to distract me from it. So yeah, I stayed. Not because I was some kind of hero, because I was scared out of my mind. There's a big difference, and most people ain't brave enough to admit that. Life kept it moving, though. That's the part nobody warns you about when your heart gets wrecked. The world don't stop spinning just because yours fell apart. Kids still gotta eat breakfast. Grass still gotta get cut. There's school plays and parent-teacher nights and grocery runs and car notes. Christmas rolls around every December, whether you're feeling it or not. And somehow, through all of that, the secret just lived in our house, like a ghost nobody talked about. Like a third person sitting at the dinner table that we all pretended wasn't there. He never brought her around, never went MIA for days. He was slick about it, careful. He showed up, did his part, was there in body, even if his mind and heart were checked out. And we built a whole life on top of that lie, like building a house on a cracked slab, and just crossing your fingers the floor don't cave in. But the part that messed me up the most, and I really need y'all to hear this, it wasn't the anger. Being mad burns hot, but it burns out. You can't walk around furious for 32 years. Your body won't even let you. Nah, what stuck around was the loneliness. That deep down, in your bones kind of lonely. The kind that comes from sharing a bed with somebody whose heart ain't even in the same zip code as yours. Cooking dinner for a man who's sitting right there, but daydreaming about some other woman's laugh. Reaching over at 2 in the morning and feeling his back turned to you and knowing, just knowing in your soul, that even his dreams don't have you in them. That kind of loneliness don't care how many people are in the room. Because the worst kind of alone ain't being by yourself. It's being right next to somebody who ain't really there. That'll wreck you in ways you didn't even know were possible. After 32 years, Margaret moved away. I never asked for the details, whether they called it quits or whether the distance just did what I never had the guts to do. But all of a sudden, it was just me and him again. Same kitchen, same coffee mugs, same table where I asked that question all those years ago. And you'd think that would have felt like some kind of win, some kind of fresh start. But nah, something in our marriage had already been bent so bad, it couldn't straighten back out. Like a bone that healed crooked. It still worked, it held weight, but it was never right again. He was nicer to me in those last years, more present, almost sweet in this way that felt like guilt dressed up in a nice outfit. And I took it. Because by that point, I was flat out exhausted. We had grandbabies. We had our routine. We had a life that, from the outside, looked like it made it through. And maybe it did make it through. But making it through and actually living are not the same thing. I found that out the hard way. He passed away 11 years ago, quietly, hospital bed, holding my hand. And I sat there after he was gone, in that room that reeked of hand sanitizer and old flowers. And I felt something I did not see coming. I felt free. And then 2 seconds later, I felt guilty as all get out for feeling free. And then I felt sad that freedom and guilt were so twisted up together, I couldn't tell where one stopped and the other started. That's what 32 years of keeping your mouth shut does to a person. Ties you up in knots so tight, you forget what shape you were supposed to be in the first place. When you make it to 93, you figure out real quick that life ain't black and white. People love messy. Marriages survive all kinds of wild stuff. Good folks make terrible choices, and those choices stick around for decades. And sometimes you don't get a neat little Hollywood ending. Sometimes you just get old. And you park yourself in a chair surrounded by a bunch of old pictures, and you try to piece together a life that never made a lick of sense while you were actually living it. I don't hate him. I want to be crystal clear on that. Never did. I hated what he did. I hated what it stole from me. But I loved him in that broken, stubborn, bone-tired way people love when they've run out of options. And honestly, I still don't know if that even counts. 93 years old, and I still can't answer that question. Now I'm talking to you. Yeah, you. Whoever's watching this right now. If 93 years on this earth taught me one thing, it's this. The hardest part of love ain't the betrayal. Betrayal is a moment. It's a gut punch. It hurts like crazy, but eventually the bruise fades. The hardest part of love is deciding what you're willing to put up with. And that ain't a one-time decision. It's something you decide every dang morning when you open your eyes and choose to stay in a life that didn't turn out the way you planned. Some of y'all are making that choice right this second. Some of y'all are laying next to somebody right now, wondering if this is really it. And I ain't gonna tell you to leave. And I ain't gonna tell you to stay. Because I did both, in my own way, for 32 years. I stayed in the house, but I checked out of the marriage in my heart a long time before it was actually over. And I still don't know which one cost me more. Don't wait until you're 93 to keep it real with yourself. That's all I'm saying. Don't let the things you won't say out loud eat your life the way I let them eat mine. Whatever your truth is, look at it. Say it. Even if your voice cracks. Even if nobody else is around to hear it. Because the stuff you refuse to say out loud, that's the stuff that owns you. My husband loved another woman for 32 years. And at 93, I'm still trying to figure out what love actually means. I don't think I ever will.